A Cancer, former Australian Prime Minister, Kevin Rudd calls for royal commission into Murdoch monopoly. Look up how Murdoch pretty much toppled the premiership of Malcolm Turnbull in Australia single-handedly. Scary how much power and influence he has. It's pretty disgusting how News Corp has run a continuous campaign against Daniel Andrews, the Labour Victorian Premier, over the hotel quarantine breach and the Victorian lockdown. They wrote barely anything when the NSW Liberal Premier allowed the passengers off Ruby Princess to disembark into Sydney without proper screening earlier in the year. Murdoch should be investigated for inciting global unrest. Him and Fox News have created the unrest and division in the world. They should be held accountable for projecting lies as news. God, I hope there is something to this. I am so tired of faux news disinformation in the United States. It has turned over 1/3 of our population into mindless zombies. Every Australian that is not insane, please, go sign this. The damage this billionaire will continue to do to people's lives? I don't have a month it would take to write it all. It already has 65,000 signatures in 2 days. Let's all not be surprised as the Liberal government tries their black little hearts out to sweep it under the rug. The petition, https://www.f.gov.au/petition_list, ID equals N1938. The website is terrible, making you jump through hoops to get a verification email that then makes you jump through more hoops to actually register. As many Australians as possible need to sign it and not give up until it goes through. Until it complains you've already registered, the work isn't done. Trump is just the colonic metastasis caused by Murdoch's primary tumor. Every shitty thing that's happened in the Western world in the last 15 years has been exacerbated or straight up caused by his greed and lust for power. When he dies, if COVID is even over by then, I would happily fly to Australia to piss on his grave. I'll probably need to queue. Is it not feasible to pass a sort of antitrust legislation that would force to break up his near monopoly in Australia? I'm aware that other countries tried that with their media moguls at one point, for example, Berlusconi in Italy. Can someone tell me what a old rotten cunt like Murdoch has to gain from being such a lying deceptive cunt? He's not long more for this world. He truly just wants to see it burn. Free my guy friendly Geordies. Fox News is a cancer. Fuck Murdoch and Fox News. He destroyed the minds of many of my friends and family members. And half my country. In fact, Trump as we know him was also formed through years of watching Fox News. Needs more upvotes. Murdoch and his evil empire really have systematically wrecked the world, and it seems Lachlan, the less loved loser's son, will carry on after Rupert dies, which soon should be. Only about 40 years too late. Always amazes me when people complain about Chinese and Russian propaganda on this sub but ignores Fox News and US domestic propaganda. US propaganda is actually more insidious because it has the appearance of legitimacy due to freedom of speech. People don't even realize that it is slanted. People in China and Russia all know that their news is controlled and are actually more critical in their analysis of whether if the news is true or not. What's a royal commission? I don't really understand the point of MI6 and all security work to combat terrorism while Murdoch is allowed to destroy the UK, Australia, the US and all of Europe's security and partnerships that have existed since WW2. It's horrific that the world we live in is literally being ran by old decrepit rich cunts, who care about nothing but making more wealth. The power these people have is fucking disgusting. This Murdoch owns people's minds, their opinions. The world is beyond its Orwellian comparisons. We live in a world now where the powers that be are no longer accountable for their actions. They have managed to control fact and fiction with their utterances of fake news. This planet is dying due to climate change. People are fucking dying due to a pandemic. And yet these old fucks don't care. They are burning people's homes and people's lives just to get more money, and when they die, some other old fuck will take their place and the cycle will continue until this planet burns. How do we combat the people who control the news? How do we combat those who are in charge of our future? The saddest thing of all is that, We think this is bad now, but in what 40-year time, it'll be a whole lot worse. We are no longer humans, we are just cattle. This, along with the news that Murdoch's heir apparent just turned on him, is playing out like a fucking Shakespeare play. He is correct, the Murdoch monopoly is indeed a cancer on this world. Australia, Ireland, UK, America, he is essentially in control of. We need to stop this man and his family's wealth before it dooms us. It looks like we are already going down a bad slope anyways. Australian here, on behalf of all of us, sorry USA. Who else is reporting on this story? U/coverage analysis. But it's amazing how politicians always find their spine after they leave office. No one should own all news like this. Disgusting. Our worlds are run by like 8 people. Fuck off. This piece of shit has poisoned societies in countries all over the world. How is this guy allowed to own a media conglomerate that relishes in the spread of misinformation and lies over the airways? Sometimes it seems as if life is a cruel joke when you have an old cunt named Murdoch whose existence seems to solely be to tear the world apart. Finally got it signed this morning after trying for 3 days. Murdoch hating Australian. Murdoch is responsible for the rise in fascist terrorism. He has blood on his hands. Murdoch should be charged with endangering the world. As an American, please tear that fucker down. Fox News has been poisoning our country for too long. We need a petition in every country, especially in the UK and USA. Already put my signature down. Rupert Murdoch has so much to answer for. Sadly, he'll probably never get what he deserves. The Murdochs needs to ship to Rikers Island. Spoiler, nothing happens. Shocker. Fuck me, how many years have people asked for this? He's a monster who serves his own greed whilst pandering to those who he thinks will protect it. He is a cancer to the entire English-speaking world. It would be nice if we saw more action like this from people sitting in office. It seems way too often they sit on issues like this to protect their career, then act when they don't have the power to actually do anything about it. What really needs to happen is reform on the distribution of false and misleading information. If you split apart his monopoly, it will just create a bunch of small cancers. Good for you, Australia. I wish we'd do one in the UK. The Murdoch media empire is located mostly in Australia, the UK, and the USA. All of those countries are much worse off since his media came in and starting poisoning the discourse. Maybe there is a pattern there. It feels like us peasants are starting to sharpen our pitchforks. Surely Murdoch has done more to damage and divide the West since 2016 than 1,000 Russian agents could ever dream of achieving. He's single-handedly reversed the Cold War. Oh, and he's personally responsible for decades of irreparable harm to the planet. Why do countries bother with the farce of security agencies when they have done nothing to protect their nations from Murdoch and his drip feed of poison into our societies? Signed. Fed Up Aussie. I suspect we would have a lot more signatures if the actual petition was linked. https://www.f.gov.o/petition/_list, ID equals N1938, https://www.f.gov.o/petition_list, ID equals N1938. https://www. reddit.com/r/world news/comments/james_murdoch_says_he_fathers_news_empire/utm_medium equals android_app and utm_source equals share. Even James Murdoch knows that his father's empire has been built by poisoning the masses. He must live so long by sucking the life force out of the idiot masses his companies push disinformation to.